This is Mason. It's 11 o'clock in the morning in Syracuse, and we're live in the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Good morning. It is just past 11 o'clock here on this Thursday morning. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday. Everybody in the chat, get in there, fire some questions. We'll take your live calls. Link pin top of the chat as always. As we get later in the show, we'll wrap up the hour in a little bit. We'll do no wrong answers, Syracuse, Boston College basketball to end the show. Here's an early preview. BC's terrible. I had unfortunately watched 5 minutes of them play the other night, and I'm not necessarily looking forward to 2 hours of it coming up on Saturday. They were not pleasing to the eye. They're like the opposite of Florida State. They'll guard you a little bit, but they can't score at all. So we'll do that later. We'll hit this Syracuse football portal watch, whatever the hell's going on with the tight end Michael Smith, who's signed but like locked in South Carolina's locker room. They're like not letting him leave the state. I don't know. It's all very peculiar what's going on there. We'll try to sort our way through that as we go along throughout our time together today. What's up, Kev? You did remember Thursday. You're right here in the chat. What's up, Weez? What's up, everyone? Yeah, you guessed wrong. I have buttons today, Spatching the Weez. No zipper. You guessed wrong on what I was going to be wearing. What you did not have to guess about, because I told you he was going to be on the show, is our guest today. He is the Hall of Famer who's covered Syracuse basketball for many, many years. He is Mike Waters. Mike, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for hopping on.
No, thank you for having me on, Brian. I've been looking forward to it. It's good to see you again.
Yes.
I hear you all the time, but I don't always see you.
Yes, I'm usually I just sit in my basement most of the days, and you're at the Dome and whatnot. You don't come to my basement a lot, so we don't see each other in person.
I haven't been invited. I want to make that clear.
Okay, I mean open invitation, Mike. If you'd ever like to come to the basement, I just don't want to put you in that spot to turn down weird basement invitations.
The next road trip I don't go on, I'll come over and watch a game with you. Have pizza and some wings.
Hey. That has been done in this basement, and it can be done. There's a fridge not too far away down that way, so we can make some exciting accommodations for you, Mike. I don't know. I'm just I've got some not finalized yet. We've been having some sponsorship conversations with beverage companies. We'll put it that way. So perhaps we could make this really worth your while.
I'm really interested.
Down the line. Okay. Yeah, I will keep you in the fold on that going forward. All right, Mike. So, you've covered every Syracuse basketball season for a long, long time now, right? And, this one has been, I don't even know where to go, right? It's got the overarching red stuff. It's got, the history on it. Now it's got your best player was hurt for 2 months, and now he's playing out of his mind. Where are you approaching this season right now when you look at what's going on?
You're right. It's been pretty interesting. I think right now, Syracuse has been kind of in this hovering pattern.
Yeah.
In these games where you can't afford to lose them, but if the winning of them isn't really increasing their profile, or they're not climbing up the net rankings with wins over Georgia Tech and Pitt, or a home win over Florida State, but they're maintaining things, and they're keeping themselves around. And but here in another week or two, they're going to enter some games, a stretch where, okay, this is where you're either going to propel yourself into that conversation around, the NCAA tournament and bids and net rankings and stuff, or you won't. So I think we've really been in a holding pattern for a little while. But, to their credit, they've done what they've needed to do here. They didn't trip up on a couple of road trips. They got those wins in Atlanta and Pittsburgh. They got another one coming up on Saturday. So we'll see how they do. And sometimes teams that, aren't going to get into that conversation, they're not capable of winning 3-4 in a row, no matter who the competition is. So I think in a way they are proving a little something to some of us, if not, the committee, NCAA committee writ large, all that stuff. But maybe it's the folks like yourself and myself that are really watching everything. We're kind of like, well, if they are able to run off 4 in a row, that's still a pretty good deal. And especially if 3 of those 4 are on the road, albeit not against the top of the league, but just against anybody, that's not a bad thing. But overall, I'm kind of waiting to see. And of course, the more they do, the better they can be. If they get into that conversation, then we'll have the conversation of Syracuse with Donnie Freeman, Syracuse without Donnie Freeman. Because right now it's Syracuse is 7-1 with Donnie on the floor. They're 7-0 when he's a starter, by the way, because he didn't start against Clemson. He didn't score in the first half against Clemson. So they're 7-0 with him, and they're 5-4 when he doesn't play. So
yeah, that's pretty
the
stark.
committee will take that into account. But first of all, they got to get into the committee's line of vision.
Yeah, that's a tie break. That's not throw out the rest of it. Unfortunately,
right.
Like, because it doesn't change it, right? Like, we can easily sit here and say, well, if they have Donnie, they beat Houston. Of course, they win the Hofstra game if they have Donnie, but they didn't, and they didn't, right? Like, so it when you see that goes away, like maybe you can get it flipped here. I don't know what you're hearing from people. Like, our post game show after the Georgia Tech game was so interesting for a lot of reasons, because, Syracuse won a road league game by double figures, which in like other places and times is you don't even think about it, right? You're like, all right, yeah, it got a little wonky there for a second, but they won a road game by double figures in the league. Like, how many times did that happen under Jim Boeheim where things get a little squirrely, you put it away and you forget about it? But because of the overarching, like, is the guy keeping his job or not conversation, like, it felt like every possession was a referendum on red. I'm like, they won the game by 10, and yet it just is not the conversation going on right now.
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes I'll hear the same thing from fans, and I'll invite them to watch any other college game on another night. Yeah. Or just maybe not one college game, but like, let's look at a given night in college basketball and how many times you'll see teams rally from 15 points down to win. Or you'll see a team blow a 20-point lead. It gets down to about 3 or 4. They hang on. They build it back up. They win by 6. And Syracuse fans don't care.
No.
Because that doesn't enter into their line of thinking. So that really doesn't bother them. In fact, they probably liked it in a way because they saw an entertaining game. They saw a game with some back and forth. And we always say basketball is a game of runs. And everybody understands that and gets it until it's their own team blowing a 15-point lead. Yeah. And then it's like, the point guard's terrible. The head coach sucks. We need a better rotation. And then it's like, you run around with your head on fire. I mean, boy, you want to talk about a fan base with their hair on fire right now. Go talk to a North Carolina fan.
And yeah, I mean, you are a Carolina grad, so you certainly.
And so I am sort of tuned in to some Carolina fans because of my the diploma on the wall. Not that I'm a Carolina fan, but I know a few. And right now, they are apoplectic that they can't stop a point guard. The last 3 games that they've played against Wake Forest, who else was it? It was last night. It was Stanford, and then SMU. Mm-hmm. And the opposing team's point guards are averaging about 27 points a game against Carolina. And Carolina fans are just going nuts right now. And of course, last night it was Stanford's Ibuka Okore, who, by the way, is lighting up everybody.
Right.
In the
league. Well, if you're a fan, you don't care that he lights up other people. He's not until he lights up you.
Same with Boopy Miller.
Yeah, Boopy's fantastic.
Yeah. Boopy lit up Virginia Tech last night and won a game on a half-court shot, in the process. But, Carolina fans aren't going to worry about Boopy since he's not torching the Tar Heels these days. And it's the same with Syracuse fans, same with every fan base. But no, you don't love to see leads squandered, and you want to shorten those runs teams make against you by not turning the ball over, getting a good set. They had a couple of really horrendous offensive possessions at Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. And I talked to Red Autry the day after the game, so maybe not in the heat of the moment in the post game, but the next day, and he's like, I asked him about the back-to-back lobs that went to Akir Soiree, and he's like, do you really think I ran those plays? Do you think I called those? And I'm like, no, I get it. You're dealing with either teenagers or kids out there on the floor, and, things happen. You get caught up in the moment. You think you're about to make a great lob to Akir Soiree, and the next thing you know, Georgia Tech's got a fast break play up. So things happen. But they have to be smarter. But again, like you said at the very outset, they got a double-digit win on the road against Georgia Tech, and they got a solid win on the road at Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So you'll take those and stash them away.
Yeah, obviously Pitt's not what Pitt has been, but that is a house of horrors, that building, and Syracuse went in there and gets the win by double figures. I mean, it was a carbon copy game in many ways to Georgia Tech, where you have the lead, it goes away, and you hang on, and then. Man, you just talk about how all this hits the coaches and hits Red. I found it so interesting. Tuesday night, so it's late night, whatever it is. It's 11:30 when this is going on, and Luke Laux, fresh, young, new head coach, walks in there. just lost, but pleasant mood and, giving all these nice answers. Red, who won, comes in and it looks like somebody took his dog. I'm just like, man, what a weird contrast of things that just happened in the press conference room.
Yeah, which coach is under pressure right now? Which one
Right.
isn't? Like Luke Louds is kind of like, okay, I'm in year one and we're building. And also I think, some of it's just like your general demeanor. I think, we know what Red's like, we know what Luke's like. So some of that is highlighted, but yeah, yeah, right now, Red's he's pushing this team. He's you always strive for perfection. I think he would take even a little bit less than that, but he knows that this is the portion of the schedule where you not only have to get wins, but you have to polish some things up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get some things right. And sometimes it's not as easy convincing your kids that this is going to come back and bite them when it didn't, against Georgia Tech, not quite anyway. And same with Pittsburgh. So, it's hard sometimes to really drive home these points. So, him and the staff are working overtime, show them, film room, other stuff like that, trying to convince these guys, like, listen, you're getting away with it right now. But Virginia Tech and Miami and NC State are just around the corner.
Mm-hmm. And they're kind of all in the same boat as Syracuse, right? Like, I wouldn't look at any of those teams being like, yeah, they're absolutely in the tournament. Like, those are games that are going to decide who's in, who's out when you look at the big picture down the line. I want your thoughts on this, Mike. I obviously net rankings and whatever, like, that's all going to play out as it does. And I know the eye test in the actual world doesn't mean anything anymore, but eye test to you with Donnie. Does this look the part to you? Like, does this look like a tournament team when you're just watching them play here now that Donnie has asserted himself as the guy?
They have looked the part. Again, we have to, the caveat is they've looked the part against who.
Right.
So, I probably am going to, back off that statement a little bit, or at least put a caveat in there that, I want to see if they still look the part when they start playing against teams who are in that mix as well. Like you said, Miami, Virginia Tech, NC State, are those teams in the tournament or are they not? Obviously Miami and NC State have really good net rankings. I think they're both in the 30s.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech isn't as high. Funny thing is, I think Virginia Tech's really good and probably really just as good as Miami and NC State, but their net ranking isn't there. Poor Virginia Tech. They're 2-3 in the league, and they have either led or been tied with under 10 seconds to go in each of the 3 losses.
Wow, that's hard to do.
What was really hard to do was the other night at SMU when they led by 4 with under 10 to go and lost.
Yeah,
it was just brutal. It was like it should be on ESPN with Scott Van Pelt in some sort of bad beat. The way they it's just brutal. And they're 2-3 with those bad losses, and one of their wins was in triple overtime against Virginia. I mean, so I just think Virginia Tech's tough. They got the kid from Greece who's really good. They got a couple of, and Mike Young might be the best coach in the ACC who gets, not enough attention. I think this is an interesting stretch coming up for Syracuse where, these will be some of the wins that they'll be the difference makers in not only league standings and tournament seeds for the ACC, but also, these are going to be one-off games that the committee's might have to look at and say, okay, who are we putting in the first 4 in Dayton, Miami or Syracuse?
And you look at
Miami won. If Miami won at Syracuse, there you go. There's the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and Miami and Virginia Tech are both dome games, right? We know how important it is to win your home games in this league, and go figure. Like the NC State game here coming up in a couple weeks, Mike. That's one where we all know how many Syracuse fans were. Well, why doesn't Syracuse have Will Wade as their head coach? That surely he should have been the head coach, and of course Quadir is there. So like the storylines are just as bonkers as you'd like here in the league right now for what the Orange are about to go through.
Yeah, I don't think Syracuse was going to hire Will Wade 3 years ago, where Will Wade was then when he
was in an FBI offices, I think, where he was then.
God bless him. Everything he did at LSU is now legal, but it wasn't legal then. And so, a school like Syracuse is probably going to say, maybe not. We got to remember, Will Wade resurrected his career with a couple great seasons at McNeese State.
Right.
Okay. I'll let you look up McNeese State on a map. But to his credit, he did great there, dominated that league, and that's how you repair a reputation. You remind people that, okay, yeah, I might have done something slightly against NCAA rules about 8 years ago, but I can coach the heck out of the game. And so NC State's like, come over here. But we'll see. NC State's not exactly going great guns either. They got a lot of good players, and they've had their struggles. So they're entering an interesting stretch of games. But it will be interesting. I mean, Will Wade is a really good coach. He gets a lot out of his players, and it'll be interesting to see where that team goes down the stretch. I think with a new program, new system, and new players, I think NC State could be trouble in February.
Yeah,
or sooner.
It's all new. It's all new. Like the roster's all new. Like everything's new down there. I look at the league this year, Mike, and obviously the last however long it's been, 3-4 years, the league has had some combination, right, of perception problem and then like a not performing in November problem, right? It's not been March, it's been November.
Big time.
It's been November, which has screwed up the rest of the year for them. They at least fixed that to some extent this year. Do you think the
because
league...
November, early December is where you lay the foundation for how good you're going to be as a conference. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then it gets locked into the net ranking, and then you're only beating yourself, and there's no way to change it. Like it's self-perpetuating. Like the last few years, the Big Ten and the Big 12 and the SEC, they get all these wins early, then every league game is a quad one game. Do you think, to you, is the league actually better this year, or did they just do a little bit better in November, which means the numbers are just better and we're looking at the same kind of basketball, or has it taken a half step up this year?
I think the league's better.
Okay.
They did better. They did better in November and December, but it wasn't just because they gamed the system or scheduled smartly. And they did go out and win some games.
Yeah.
They won a lot more games against Power 5 conferences than they did a year ago. I think the win total was double.
Okay.
In the non-conference. And I think they went from like 19 to 38 or 9 wins. So they did really, really well. And compared with the other Power 5 leagues, they did well. I don't think they had the best overall record, but they were up there, and they did well in the SEC Challenge that everyone pays so much attention to, just like basically 2 nights of basketball. But there are other games that got played too. And so that helps the league. And because when you look beyond your Duke, Louisville, Carolina, even though they haven't played super great, they're still nationally ranked. And there's a couple other teams now that are ranked. Clemson's getting ranked. Virginia's getting noticed. We talk about the net rankings, and they're sit Miami and NC State just outside the top 30. So it gives everybody in the league a chance to get a good win or not.
Yeah, I mean,
the Carolina loss to Stanford was actually a quad 1 loss.
Really? Yeah,
that wasn't true. A year ago. That's all good for.
Yeah,
it was since it was on the road. I think Stanford is in the top 75 of the net.
Right now. I usually have the net rankings open in one of the tabs on my computer, Mike. I can probably look this up. Let's see. What are we? Let's find Stanford on this list. Stanford.
I'm guessing 68.
All right, Syracuse in the current net rankings. Syracuse is 60, so that's on the way up. I suppose I could use the find function. That'll make it easier than just looking.
Syracuse up to 60 now?
Yeah, this is I just hit refresh. So
wow.
They took a bigger jump. This is the net rankings, right, Mike? They took a bigger jump yesterday when they did not play than they did on Tuesday when they won a game. That's
some other teams lost last night.
Yeah, so
that tells me.
Stanford 65. So Syracuse 60, Stanford 65. You look at a team like Cal, who, Carolina, you mentioned they're playing them next over the weekend. Duke and Cal are on that West Coast swing. Cal is 69. So,
wow.
It's not a mess. Wake Forest is 59. Virginia Tech is 55 right now as I scroll up. And then look at this. Here's the clump. 29 NC State, 30 North Carolina, 31 Miami, 32 SMU. So it's a big cluster. Clemson's right ahead of them at 26. So there's a bunch of teams. And it's going to do the same thing, right, that happened to the Big 12 and these other leagues. Now it makes every game a big game, which is huge for the league going forward. Where every night you can be like, oh, we got 3 quad 1 games tonight, and it's just massive for the league when you look at it that way.
Opportunity after opportunity. And that was not true the last
No.
2-3 years. That was not true. You had very few opportunities at quad one wins if you were in the league, and hardly any home opportunities.
Right.
Most of your quad, so those are the real difficult games. Oh, we have a quad one opportunity. It's at Duke. Yay. It's like, no, you need your quad one opportunities to be home games against somebody, or a road game against NC State or Wake Forest or Stanford.
Right.
So,
or it was a road game against a team that was 73rd in the net, and you thought you had a quad one win, but because you beat them, then it wasn't a quad one win anymore. Well, yeah, if you'd lost, it would have been a quad one loss, but you won, so sorry about that. We got Mike.
Yeah, I had a back and forth with one of my readers the other day. He was upset about how Tennessee, might not be a quad one win if they were to lose. I'm like, he's like, it should be where they were when they played them. And I'm like, well, it doesn't work like that, because you got to remember, you would be basing like a win over Tennessee based on 6 games played to that point. It's like you're really making an overall judgment about teams 6 games into the season. I'm like, yeah, we all thought Tennessee was good, but if Tennessee turns out to be a high quad 2 game, it's like, it's still fine. But also, like, you do want a season full of data.
Yeah.
To like judge whether teams are. It's like, people complain all the time about early season rankings and how we don't know who's good. And this reader, of course, was arguing the opposite, because he wanted that Tennessee win to be quad 1. I'm like,
let's see. Tennessee's currently 24th, so that's hanging out as quad 1 as far as today. We got 2 more months before that, so lock can actually matter down the line. I want to ask you this, Mike, a different conversation I was having with my listeners. If anyone has any questions for Mike in the chat, let them fly. Actually, let me ask you this, Mike, a simple question here. We noticed JJ banged his hand or wrist. He was kind of shaking it out toward the end of the game. Have you heard anything on that? I guess people didn't. Was he in the locker room after? Did you hear anything on, obviously going back to last year, whenever JJ hits it, we worry about things.
Yeah, right. I know, right? He shouldn't be like slamming any car doors or anything else, but watch out for those fingers. No, I did not talk to JJ after the game. It was so late. I grabbed the players that were available. I didn't see him. I think the encouraging thing is he didn't come out of the game.
No.
We did all see him kind of shaking it, like he had jammed it on, or something like that, either on an opponent or the ball. So I don't think it was anything major. So we'll go with that for now. But because he stayed in the game and he continued to play well. He threw down the dunk without looking hurt. So
yeah, his right hand looked perfectly fine.
Yes, it did.
Like, he wasn't afraid on that when he went up and jammed it in to seal the game. All right,
and I've talked to players about that too. It was slightly off time. How do you not like bruise the heck out of your hand the way you depending on who I'm talking to? Don't you ever get hurt? And they're like, every once in a while, like, I forget who it was who told me, goes, yeah, but you can't show it if you do that. It's like, you don't want anybody to know you just like really hurt your finger on the
It's like, yes, that was terrible, but I refuse to let you know about it. All right.
Problems you and I don't have.
No, I like the rim's way up there, Mike. How am I going to hurt myself on it? It's like I hurt myself thinking about it. So yes. I've had a lot of conversations with people about Donnie here going forward. And, there's a ton of season left. For the last 2 weeks anyway, right, he's finally playing like the guy we all thought he is. He's playing like an NBA player, an NBA draft pick who, who knows? It's a stacked draft, whatever. But, quick eye test, he looks like an NBA guy to me. Is that something you think, like, is he gonzo if he keeps playing this way? That would be my assumption. And the other conversation I was having is, all right, say he keeps playing, like, he could keep playing like this and Syracuse can miss the tournament. That's not out of the realm. And then I feel bad, right? He just kind of fades away. Like, if he goes to the draft, he's never really had a moment. It's kind of a weird situation he's in right now when, we talk legacy when you look at stuff like that.
Yeah, you're right. He could continue to play really well. And if they just miss out on the tournament or just completely miss out on the tournament, he's probably headed for the draft if he's playing anywhere near the way he's played the last 2 weeks since returning, the last 4 games, because he's played great.
Fantastic.
23 points, about 7.5 boards. He's making threes now. He's 8 of 18 from 3-point range since he's returned.
Yeah. And it looks right.
It's 44% from the field. Yeah, the NBA is looking at that going, yeah,
Yeah, we
We
can
can
work
work with that.
Yeah.
6'9", 6'10", and can make threes. Absolutely. So yeah, legacy. Yeah, it's like, where would he? Dante Green was here just 1 year, not two, but
That name came up when we were talking about this. Yeah.
what? Yeah, really? Yeah. So, who else is in that realm? I mean, other guys. Like Joe Girard had moments. Buddy Boeheim
Right.
had the 2021 tournament run.
Here was the weird comparison I made, because
Yeah.
these are completely different players and obviously had completely different careers. A guy that was here just 1 year and missed the tournament, but man, he had some crazy moments. John Gillen, like Donnie Freeman's
Sure.
a way better player than John Gillen, but randomly, if it keeps going like this,
John Gillen had the game winner against Duke.
like that's never
Right?
forgotten. He had scored 80 million points in a row in that road game
know who-
against NC State. Like he had
Another
moments.
guy from that team, only a 1-year guy, but Andrew White.
Yeah.
Andrew White scored a lot. I mean, he had a 36-point game in his finale at the Dome.
Yeah.
Well, it was his regular season finale. They played an NIT game there, but what was supposed to be senior day for him, he went nuts. I think it was 36 points. But to find a 2-year guy, I don't know, man. You're putting me on the spot. I'm not sure I'm going to come up
Yeah,
with
because
one
most of them
away.
going historically, there would have been a legacy, right? There would have been
Yeah.
a tournament attached to almost everybody else that was here for a couple of years, if you go back. So
Yeah.
really, it wouldn't apply. And then you add in the injuries, and he just hasn't played a lot of basketball for Syracuse yet. It's sort of like if Chris McCullough had a second year, I guess, if he had returned.
Good one.
And existed again.
That's a good one. Yeah. If he had, because he only played 14 or 15 games,
Yeah, before he
just
hurt
like
his knee.
Donnie. And then, if he had come back, it would have been a possibly similar arc.
Yeah, I don't know. Donnie, he's such a good player. And it feels like, I don't know how many times I've said this in the last 2 weeks. Funny how you play better basketball when you have your best player. It's just shocking how everything, but it just feels like the rest of the roster now just seems to be fitting in place better, does it not? With Donnie on the court, like people are more being put in the roles that make sense for them.
Almost across the board, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I was looking at them just the other day. Every other player's key stats are better with Donnie. It's just amazing. And yeah, okay, JJ Starling's scoring average goes down, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, but his percentage is going way
His
up.
shooting percentages go up, and Nate George's numbers are up.
Way up.
Everyone's shooting percentages go up. Nate George's assist to turnover ratio goes up. It's amazing the effect that having your absolute best player out there with you. It's like having your running back there, and then watching a football team's offense, fall to pieces when all of a sudden you don't have that bell cow. The passes to the receivers get harder, and stuff like that. So, he's good. And the thing is too, is he's good without being ball dominant.
Right.
The ball still moves. The offense is working. He picks his spots pretty well. It's been really interesting talking to Donnie over the last 2 weeks. He's thinking and seeing the game at a level I don't think he saw. But he really spent those 9 games, almost 2 months when he was out. And I think he spent a lot of last season too when he was out, really studying the game and looking for spots. It's really impressive to listen to a kid who's so young talk about the game. It's almost like he's looking at it from a pro player's point of view.
Which, in a few months, he realistically will be. I'd say Terrence Oglesby on the broadcast the other night brought up a great point. Like, Donnie's the best cutter on the team. We've been talking, like, while he was out, it's a collective hair pulling, like ball movement. Why is nobody doing anything? Then Donnie gets put back in there, and go figure, it's not often, right, your best player that's doing that stuff, but he's passing the ball, and then he's diving down the lane, or he's giving it up, getting it back on the break. Like, he's doing those things, which just seem to make it all move together.
Yep, absolutely. And the other team also has to respect him. Donnie sets a high ball screen. His defender's out there.
Yeah.
And has to be out there 18, 19 feet from the basket. When it was Sadiq White or Will Kyle doing it when Donnie was out, neither one of those guys is going to command that kind of defensive attention. Their defender could hard hedge the screen, could leave him for a minute, because even if the ball went right back to Will or Sadiq, 20 feet from the basket, they're not a threat there. They have time to come back. So that, I think some of that, some of the issues Syracuse was having with the offense bogging down and things weren't looking quite as clean was because you didn't have Donnie out there.
Yeah.
Look who you were setting your high ball screens with, and now look at what happens when Donnie does it.
Funny what happens when it's your best player who's a 3-level scorer and an adept passer and can shoot the ball and once again is your best player. Like, it's just, you plug in your best player and things seem to go a lot better. Just a few more here with Mike Waters. I find myself fascinated at every game on TV when Melo is there. Like, your eyes just go to him. He's just sitting there for the most part, but he's like last night or the other night he was wearing like a purple jacket that nobody else on earth could have potentially pulled off, and he's
it was nice. I got to see him in the locker room after. By the way, that was a nice jacket.
Yeah, like I don't even want to know how much that thing costs, but he's looking great. What's
more than my car?
Probably more than both of ours together. What's it like? I mean, you obviously covered the run, and Melo was always great to be around then and always had a smile. Now, clearly he's a proud dad and the whole thing, and they showed a lot of video of him working out Cayenne before the last game. But what's just the vibe of him around? Like, it's, sometimes stuff like that can be really overbearing, right? And it just does not seem like that's remotely the case with Melo.
I don't know if it's been a concerted effort on his part or whatever, but for a guy with his profile, his magnitude, and the fact that he's 6'8", it's not like he's blending in.
No.
His presence has been almost as unobtrusive as you could possibly make it. He walks among, he comes into the locker room, but he comes in late. It's like he's not there when Red's delivering a post-game message to the team. He's not in there. And he's not even there during like the first 15 minutes of the open locker room for the media. It's like it started to filter out when all of a sudden you see him come in a back door. And then he goes and he stays out of the way. And he doesn't want to talk to the media. It's not what he's there for. He's just there kind of waiting on Cayenne, and he'll slap hands with a couple of the players like Sadiq White and, a couple of the others. He's always there for that. During games, he's not acting like a crazy man. I think we got one picture of him this year. I think it was the Hofstra game where he was arguing a call, and we all know what call that was.
Yes.
And he was dead right. But I think we got one where we saw Dad and, but other than that, he's mellow. He's chill. He's just watching his son. He's very proud of Cayenne. They have a great relationship. It seems like, and it's also, Lala's been much the same way.
Yeah.
For two superstars with really high profiles, they come in and out of the dome. They get to their seats without a lot of hubbub. It's been managed pretty well, I think, by all parties.
Yeah, I think it's been really cool to watch because that could go a different way. That could easily go a different way. I think I found it funny too. The cameras have caught Melo almost every game. There's been like one thing every game where you notice like the opposing coaches just burst out laughing because they've had some sort of weird, it feels like the college coaches are like, oh cool, we get to he's right there in front of our bench. We get to talk to Melo.
Brad Brownell had a back and forth with Melo at the Clemson game because they challenged a play that had been called a goaltending.
Yeah.
And the challenge got upheld. They were right. And it took a bucket away from Cayenne. And Brad was talking about like how he was like going back from Melo about taking 2 points away from his kid and stuff. And how Melo was, of course, being Melo, was laughing about it. And, it's like, Melo can see the big picture there. He's not like some little league parent who's mad that his kid got called out at second. Melo's okay if Cayenne lost a bucket on a challenge. And, Brad Brownell is now, by the way, the dean of ACC coaches. He's
Crazy.
The longest tenured coach at his current school, which is just mind boggling. But it's funny where Melo is positioned at the Dome. He is right there where coaches are, standing and guiding their teams. And I think a few of them, are probably going to have a little fun with that.
Yeah.
A comment or two will go back and forth.
Yeah. Like when else are you going to get the opportunity, right? For a lot of them to be in that situation. So, why not? Why not? And yeah, what's Melo? 2 points aren't going to bother Melo. He's got what, 28,000, however many points.
Exactly right.
It's like, it's a drop in an ocean.
Although that bucket would have helped Syracuse against Clemson. They lost by 3 and that wiped 2 off the board. good challenge by Brownell, I guess.
That's true. That's why he's the dean of the coaches, Mike, because he's doing that. All right, I've already kept you way longer than planned, so do appreciate the time. Before I let you go, I mean, I've watched BC for 5 minutes, and it was not my favorite 5 minutes of all time. They looked terrible. Are you I mean, no road wins easy, right? But is this as easy as it gets in the league for Syracuse on Saturday?
Every road game has a little bit element of danger in it, right? You're going to go on the road. You don't know what's going to happen. They have two good guards. Donald Hand Jr. and Fred Payne can play.
Yeah.
They are legitimate ACC caliber guys, and they both averaging about 14 points a game. So, there's where you have to watch if you're Syracuse. Now, other than those two guys, no, there's not a lot of offense. I've seen the other little guard, Luka Taves, have a moment or two on occasion. But I think this is a big one for Syracuse in terms of can you come there and shut down a backcourt? You couldn't really do it against Pitt. Brandon Cummings went off on you. But, Cruz Davis of Hofstra, I don't want to bring up too many bad memories now for Syracuse fans, but, I think that there's a challenge there with these two guys. So how are Nate George, JJ Starling, even Nate King's going to do? I think, I think they're the ones that have the challenge in terms of personnel, and the rest of the team, the challenge is you got to come ready to play still. And if Donnie Freeman and Will Kyle and some of the other guys on the team come in and locked in, Syracuse should be able to take care of business.
All right, so that'll be Saturday. That's a 2 o'clock. A 2 o'clock, not a 9 o'clock tip, Mike. A 2 o'clock tip at Chess.
Yes, only tip off. I'm not worried about a tip off that day. I'm worried about a kickoff. I'm mad at the NFL for putting the Bills at 4:30.
Okay.
So yeah, apparently I'm mad about kickoff and tip offs and kickoffs all the time.
No matter what. Randomly, you may get home from the Boston road game before you got home from the Dome the other night. I don't know how that somehow the math is going to work.
It could happen.
Yeah, it could. It'll be a good race anyway. All right, Mike. Appreciate the time as always. We'll catch up later in the year, I'm sure.
Thank you, Brian. Great talking to you.
All right, there's our guy, Mike Waters, the Hall of Famer. Check out all his stuff. You know where to check out his stuff, but I will tell you anyway. Syracuse.com. The Post-Standard. Always great to chat with Mike. I did not plan on talking to Mike for that long, but we do get going, so always good to chat with Mike and get into that. Should we stay? We got a few more minutes here. If anyone else would like to join the party, link pinned top of the chat as per always. Should we stick on the basketball theme right now? We need to do a little portal watch, and we need to do a little no wrong answers before we conclude things today. I say let's stick on the hoops, right? And let's launch right into a little no wrong answers for Q's and BC.
Hi, Mason again. It's time to find out exactly what's going to happen in the next Syracuse game. This is No Wrong Answers. Here's Brian.
Thank you, Mason. And yes, Mike Waters giving us a nice thumbnail there of what Boston College is. Here's my thumbnail of Boston College. I watched the end of their game with Clemson on Tuesday night because it came on my television before Syracuse and Florida State. And what I saw was just a terrible Boston College basketball team that is, I don't want to say offensively challenged. I think that's too kind. Inept. They are offensively inept. Yeah, they got a couple of guards that can play a little bit, but they got no size, and they do not have the ability to put the ball in the basket. They are the opposite of Florida State. Like, Florida State's running all over the place, shooting threes, scoring 1 million points, not guarding you at all. BC will give you an honest effort. They're going to try to guard you a little bit, but they cannot score. So, Syracuse going into this game on the road, it's a 2 o'clock tip Saturday, Conti Forum. They always chilly Conti Forum because of the ice directly below the court for the many-time national champion Boston College hockey team. But this is a game on Saturday where, out of this whole stretch here, Clemson to start the year, which got away from you, and then the last 3 that you've won, this is a can't-lose kind of game. You lose this game, this would be a disaster fest if you're looking at big picture, net rankings, trying to make the tournament. This is a must-win kind of game. And then we get into next week, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, Virginia Tech. And then is it next Saturday with Miami coming into the Dome? Those are two, like, all right, are you ready to go up like for like in the league and win games? Yeah, BC looks like SU from last year. Yeah, they just look out of place. They might be let's put it this way. Of the teams in the league I've seen play so far this season, which admittedly is not all of them, because there's 18 freaking teams, BC is and has been the worst I've seen so far, and it's not particularly close. And that's including Pitt, Florida State, and Georgia Tech, who the Orange have all just beaten, who all seem to be, at least at minimum, in the bottom third of the league. And eye test tells me BC's worse than them. So, no wrong answer, Syracuse and Boston College, 2 o'clock Saturday in Chestnut Hill. Where do we start no wrong answers? The same place we always start. It's Donnie Freeman. What's he done since he's come back from injury? You know, he's in the 20s every game, save for the first one. It was 18 points, but all after halftime. So I'm going to go no wrong answers, Donnie Freeman. You know, I'm going to take it slightly down because he probably won't need as much, but 22 points, 7 rebounds, a block, and a steal for Donnie on the road at Boston College. Tyler Betsy in the 2-hole today. He's on fire? Yeah, he is absolutely scalding. BC can be a bit of a shooter's building if you get it going. Like, that ball can go in the hoop in that building. I think Tyler Betsy, coming off a 6-3 game, he won't do that, but we'll give him 4 more. I think Betsy's going to knock down some outside shots in this game, and I really liked what we saw against Florida State. He had the good first half, which has been his hallmark. Red got him back in the second half, and it continued. Let's look for that again on Saturday afternoon. J.J. Starling playing really well his last couple games. No wrong answers. Shooting percentage through the roof. He was 7 of 10 from the floor this past game. I think JJ will take it to BC. They're not going to be able to stop him from getting to the rim. They have no rim protection, and JJ is just bigger and more athletic than BC's guards. Let's give Starling, we'll give him 15 points in this game, but it'll be a noisy 15 points for J.J. Starling. Cayenne still a little lost at sea here. I don't know if he really finds his way in this game. We'll give Anthony 6, but, you know, he's still a bit adrift here in his freshman season. Likewise, Sadiq White. Sadiq was doing some stuff, man. I told you he was going to do stuff last game. I didn't realize that doing the stuff would also include a technical foul. So we'll see if Sadiq can rein it in just a little bit this game against Boston College. Where else to look? Nate George, back-to-back double-digit assist games. I don't think we get that against Boston College, but only because not necessary. 8 assists in the game for Nate George. Let's see if he can limit the turnovers in the game. He had 4 last game, but 13 assists offset, so the assist-to-turnover ratio is still pretty darn good for Nate against Florida State. Nate Kings, he's got to start putting the ball in the bucket. I don't think it's going to start in this game. 7 points for Kings, but he has been struggling on offense. His on-ball defense, though, is still as good as ever. He's Syracuse's best perimeter defender at this point, though George and Starling are both adequate in their own right at this point. And then William Kyle, high-flying William Kyle, man, he went second half alley-oop parade to start the game the other day, or come out of the locker room and do that. It was just like, all right, not a lot of dunks, dunk, 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 dunk. 4 more dunks for Kyle in this game because it's what he does, and he'll do something spectacular that makes a highlight package somewhere. There we are. No wrong answers for the players, Syracuse and Boston College. Let's mix it all up. No wrong answers is telling me this. No wrong answers tells me that Boston College is flat out not good. Final score, Conti Forum, no wrong answers. Syracuse 83, Boston College 62. Blowout in favor of the Cuse on Saturday, and then it gets real, and it gets real in a hurry with Virginia Tech, Miami, NC State all coming up in the very, very near future. Of course, post-game show live here afterwards on Saturday, as it always is. Game ends, you come here. Post-game show, we'll talk, we'll chat. We'll try to get your ad. You never know with a road post-game if we'll be able to pull that off, and we'll get your live calls as well. Looking forward to that after the game around about 4 o'clock on Saturday. All right, there we are. A little no wrong answers for real. Is it fool's Is it fool's gold, Weez? No, I don't think it would be fool's gold, but it also, because I don't think Syracuse is like, oh, now they can't do it against anybody else. So I don't think it's fool's gold. It is, though. We have to understand, though, they are doing it against the bottom of the league. It's necessary, but what it isn't doing for me, Wiz, it's not guaranteeing, like, past results are not indicative of future performance. Like, just because if they go and blow out BC doesn't guarantee anything against Virginia Tech. That said, like Clemson in the league, Clemson is really good. And Syracuse, in Donnie's first game back, they went toe-to-toe with Clemson, right? That was not a talent disparity issue. That was a, Donnie was working his way back in, then they dug a hole, then they got out, and the game got away late. But that's, one-possession game, essentially, against Clemson. You look at Virginia Tech and Miami coming up, all right, you got to win those games. Now, do you have to win all those games? No, but, like, those are the types of games that tournament teams start stacking a little bit going forward. Could it be fool's gold? I suppose it could, but I don't think that's what we're watching right now. Am I guaranteeing they're going to go barnstorm through those? No, but I think those will be real, legitimate, like, entertaining, close basketball games for all schools involved going forward, like, great importance when we get to the end of the year. Like, the winners of those games amongst that section of the league are going to be really, really important games, I think, when it comes to selection committee in the room, who's in, who's out, stuff like that this year. All right, mostly basketball here today with the game coming up, but we gotta hit a little Portal Watch before we go, because it's just getting bizarre out there.
Hi, it's Mason. And I'd never enter the transfer portal, but many have. And many Orange will continue to come and go. This is Portal Watch. Again, here's Brian.
All right, a little Portal Watch for you here as we are closing in on the final day to enter the transfer portal. 'Tis tomorrow. And a couple of things to talk about. One, we told you the other day that Daryl Gill was likely going to Ole Miss. That is now official. There's graphics and everything. So Daryl Gill, Syracuse receiver, is not going back to his home state of Texas. He is going to the SEC, and he's going to play for a team that was in the college football semifinals this past year at Ole Miss, though likely with a new quarterback, because Trinidad Chambliss has been denied eligibility for next year, though I think he's appealing again. So if Daryl Gill gets Trinidad Chambliss to throw him the ball, look out. That dude's fun. The crazy story going on right now, and Jordan and I delved into it a little bit last night. I've been exploring some sources on it and trying to figure things out behind the scenes here. So a week and a half ago, tight end from South Carolina, Michael Smith, became the first player out of the portal to commit to Syracuse. And on top of that, he didn't just commit to Syracuse, and this isn't all the reporting and everything I've heard. This is exactly what happened. Michael didn't just commit to Syracuse. He signed with Syracuse and enrolled at Syracuse. The semester started on Monday. Last day to add classes and stuff is upcoming Tuesday. So from all accounts that I've heard is that Michael Smith did everything that one needs to do to become a student at a new college, and not at the old college, South Carolina. Now, so the portal goes along. Syracuse needed a tight end. They got a tight end. They had other tight ends they were interested in. We're basically like, hey, we needed one. We got the guy. Thanks, and best of luck. South Carolina also needed a tight end, and they struck out left and right. So apparently late in the game, like, they were like, so you want to stay? And now there is much, much vagary and dispute of what happened after that. Did Michael say sure? Did Michael not say sure? Was he coerced or not? What's Fran Brown doing? The reporting by Javon Edmonds of Syracuse.com yesterday is that the Syracuse won't nullify the paperwork that Smith signed, where because he's an enrolled student at Syracuse, he now can't also be one down in South Carolina. So it's a big ball of mess. And this is like a multi-factor thing here. One, I think a lot of this has been caused by the stupid changing of when the portal is. You bumped it back a month, and because of that, you sandwiched and accelerated the time period all this stuff needs to happen in. So a guy like Mike Smith here, I'm going to call him Mike, we're boys, we go way back, he had to really smush his timetable into a shorter period. Like, did he have second thoughts about Syracuse? I don't know, but because it's a shorter period, like, you have to make a decision. You got to go to the you have to do it all. Where had the portals been a month earlier, all right, I commit to you, and then you can have a moment, and it doesn't have to be as rushed. Or if you change their mind, like Syracuse should have had more time to find another tight end, or if now the spring portal's gone away, if whichever team doesn't end up with them, they would have had another portal period in the future to figure out that situation. So, like, all that stuff's going away, and it's somehow put everybody in a corner on this. And I think the next step to watch out for here is, one, this is interesting because Fran is very much think back to Damian Alford. Like, he's if you don't want to be here, get out kind of guy. This is the opposite of that, for whatever reason, which is fascinating. The Washington case with Desmond Williams, their quarterback, looked like it might turn into a litigious mess because he signed the contract for millions and millions of dollars to stay at Washington. All of a sudden, LSU comes calling. He goes into the portal, and then scents arrive via lawyers and whatnot, and he ended up staying at Washington to avoid a drawn-out legal process that could have rung up millions and millions of dollars. I don't know what NIL Michael was offered, received, or getting, but I'm certain it's less than the University of Washington star quarterback. I will be very, very interested because the money is less and there's less, big picture stuff like that involved. Like, does this become the wall where somebody dies? Like, does this become the one where people are going to throw up and do lawsuits and do the whole thing? Because at some point somewhere, there's going to be a situation like this. Goes, doesn't go, contract signed, changes mind, whatever, where the lawsuits are going to happen and the courts are going to get involved, and then we'll have some precedent on a winner or loser and things going forward. Will this come to that? I haven't a clue, but that would be kind of wild if a random tight end who has a handful of career catches, albeit a formerly highly regarded one out of high school, who the Orange coaches have said, hey, we had that Aronde Gadsden guy. We want to try that. It would be very just weird if this is the guy with the most generic name ever. His name is Michael Smith. Like, he could be 87 million different guys. And it would be crazy if this is where the buck stops on all this. So, yes, Kev, either Syracuse needs a tight end or South Carolina needs a tight end. They both need a tight end. There's one Michael Smith, and we have no idea at this moment how this is all going to play out. It is endlessly fascinating how this weird stuff in the portal goes. And I don't know Michael Smith at all. Never met the guy. Maybe we'll never meet the guy if he ends up staying at South Carolina for some reason. I feel bad for him because now he's been put in a weird spot. Like, what is he? He's 20, give or take, Now, he's getting tugged at from both directions. And now he's gone from, going in the portal and being able to choose, his own destiny going forward. Now, no matter what, he's in a lose-lose situation because he's been poked and prodded and put in a position where, we do no wrong answers. Now he's got no right answer. Like, no matter what he does, somebody's going to end up disappointed, annoyed, pissed off, suing somebody. Like, no matter what this kid does now, it's a mess. It's a mess. A fascinating mess, for sure, but a mess nonetheless. Let's, that rhymed. Let's give one quick check of the old. Let's see if the McAllister bat signal has thrown anything into the air in the last hour from the portal. The main thing I'm still watching for here in the portal for Syracuse is a center. I would like to see an offensive lineman with center experience come in. Besides that, I think of needs. I think you're in a pretty good spot when it comes to Portal Watch right now. I think you're in a pretty good spot when it comes to Portal Watch if you're Syracuse right now, besides getting somebody to snap the ball to the quarterbacks this year. So it will be extremely interesting to see how this all plays out going forward. All right. I think this will bring us to the end of our Live in the 315 today, unless anyone has anything else before we, wrap the gavel and conclude our proceedings for the day. Upcoming schedule, post-game Saturday will be our next live show here on YouTube. That will get going 4-ish on Saturday. That's a 2 o'clock tip for the Orange at Boston College. And then Live in the 315 will be back on Monday morning at 11 o'clock. So that's what we got coming up here in the near future. Great for Mike Waters coming to hang out with us today. Always great to chat with Mike. I told Mike, I don't know. He's like, how long is this? I'm free till about noon. I'm like, I don't know. We'll keep you 20 minutes. And, I undershot it by half. We kept Mike for about 40. But always great to chat with Mike Waters about Syracuse basketball and all things college basketball. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out today. We'll talk to you Saturday coming up after the game.
Thanks for watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. We'll see you next time.